Here we are in season 5 of the Homeschool Show. So welcome, everybody. This is the Homeschool Show for North Carolinians for Home Education. I'm Amanda Wares, your host, and we have Melanie Willis, my awesome co-host. Hey, Melanie.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, doing very well. How about you?
Good. I'm kind of excited. We homeschool year round, but we have taken the last couple of weeks. We took a little teensy break. And so I'm really excited for next week when my sister's kids come and we really start school again. And, that newness and invigorating feeling that you get when you start the new school year that I have prayed will last.
Exactly. I know. It's true. Yes. We're right there too. We're and we really have not stopped, really.
No.
But it is still a feeling. It's still, co-ops are starting new, sports, different things. So it does still feel new, even if you've homeschooled all summer.
Yeah. Well, and I think even though we may have homeschooled all year long, I'm seeing all the posts for everybody that's starting new and they're showing their pictures and stuff. And I feel that. And, it's like, I think part of it is the change in knowing that fall is coming. There's something about that feeling. And the weather sure has been everywhere over the past couple of weeks. So.
Very, very true. And I'm sure it will continue for a little while longer because this is North Carolina and, you never know what you're going to get. But I'm so excited about season 5. We have some great, exciting things planned for this season, and I just can't wait to share it with you all out there. We recently, a few months ago, we had Thrive, which we talked a lot about. It was so great. Just this year in particular, I just felt such an excitement and an engagement from the people that were there. And we had an awesome opportunity to sit down and interview a whole bunch of people, all different folks. Upcoming in this season, you'll be seeing a lot of those interviews. So that's going to be really fun. So what do we have today?
So we are going to start out this season. The first couple of episodes, we're going to focus on dads in homeschooling. And we have several interviews from some great homeschool dads that I hope will inspire you. And then we are going to, this season, every couple of weeks, we're going to talk a little bit about art and special projects that you can use in your homeschool and hope to give you just some real simple ideas for some things to use. And then, of course, we will have some homeschool news today for the beginning of the school year and all things field trip.
That's awesome. So good. There's so much good stuff. I'm really excited. So to start off our dad series, and this is so just special to me because I know I've talked a lot about my story. When we first started homeschooling, my husband was not on board with homeschooling. He was not a big fan. Really, our first year, it was the idea of he would let me homeschool for that first year and then we would put him back. And just the transformation that I've seen in him and all of that, I love these dads and their dedication to homeschooling, their dedication to their families, and just how that's growing and growing. It's so exciting. So we started off our first interview that we're going to share with you is with our own NCHE's own executive director, Matthew McDill. He is a homeschool dad of 9. Yes, 9. And they're awesome. They're awesome kids. And so he had a lot to share with us. Let's check it out.
Hi, I'm Melanie Willis with the Homeschool Show, and I'm here today with Matthew McDill, our executive director. How are you doing today?
Fine. How are you?
Doing good?
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you today as a homeschool dad.
Okay.
And so I want to know about your homeschool experience and how involved you are in your homeschool.
I am relatively more involved than I would say in a lot of families that I'm aware of, because I know there's a lot of, a spectrum of activity, especially with boys and especially with high school. I tend to have things handed over to me a little more in the high school levels. I especially love the, Bible history, literature areas. And since they're more self-guided, it's something I can take on because it doesn't require my everyday attendance necessarily.
So do you do more of giving an assignment and handing it off?
There's a lot of that. This last year, I've tried to be a lot more intentional about having kind of a Bible class.
Yep.
So, because I feel like in the past, we've done a little too much just handing off, where it's like, well, we need some interaction here. And so I've had where all the kids, right, 30 minutes, sit down at the dining table, we're having Bible class.
Right.
Like we're going to really dig in and talk about some stuff. And that's with Dad. And so that's been kind of a new, more recent thing we've been adding in.
And so how do you feel overall as your homeschool career has changed through the years, the dynamics between you and your wife and homeschooling?
Yeah, I think we've figured things out in the sense of we'll try this, and seasons of life, a lot of things end up changing over time. Or like I said, sometimes with the boys, Dana is a lot more like, okay, he's yours now. Like I'm done with this kid. Yeah.
Tapping out on this one.
That's not really fully, but there's just a sense of, okay, he is having a hard time with mom authority right now and I need some help. So that's one of the transitions that comes up and changes over time.
And what would be your biggest piece of advice as a homeschool dad be to other homeschool dads?
Take spiritual responsibility. I mean, mom's going to do a lot, but there is a calling for the dad to lead his home spiritually. You don't have to be a Bible scholar. You don't have to know everything, but for the kids to hear dad read the scripture and to pray or to talk about real life stuff and to be involved at that level, even if it's not school.
Right.
But he's taking responsibility for that. Sometimes that's hard to do, but that's what your calling is. So do it and God will help you do it.
Take the reins and do it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for being with us today.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So, Amanda, I really loved his transparency and just it kind of reiterated my feelings that I have all the time about homeschooling. And I share so often that, the seasons, they change and you have to just kind of adapt and go with it. You're not going to come up with this perfect plan and stick with it. And that's what's going to always work. Sometimes you
Yes.
have to adjust and do something different. And I really enjoyed listening to him talk about that.
I know. I love that too. And I love the idea of him sitting down with his kids, especially as they've gotten older, to sit down and do a Bible class. I think that's something that dads, whether they're home during the day or not, if you're working all day, you could get with your kids after you get home and do a Bible class with them. That's a wonderful, just easy to implement thing that I took away from that.
Yes, definitely.
And so then we talked to Tom Gerganis, and I just love Tom as a person. He is so much fun. He's such a just sacrificial, selfless person. And I love hearing him talk about being a homeschooling dad. And he has really led the charge for NCHE to reach out to dads. He is the head of our dad's team, and it's just awesome to hear from him. So let's check that out now.
Hi, I'm Melanie Willis with the Homeschool Show, and today we are sitting here with Tom Gerganis, who has been involved in NCHE for
A very long
a very,
time.
very long time. Right. And so I want to ask you today, as a homeschool dad,
Right.
what are your thoughts on how your involvement was in homeschooling your children?
So I think looking back that I was fairly well involved. I did a little bit of teaching. I taught biology and some science and a little bit of math. And I read with our kids at night, which is actually, dads, that's one of the best things you can do
Absolutely.
is read with your kids. So I think I'm kind of in the middle. I know there are dads who are not able to be as participatory as possible or as they would probably like to be because of, work and everything like that. And then there are dads now who are the primary teachers who are doing all the teaching. And I think I was somewhere in the middle. It was a really great experience. I mean, we graduated 3 and I'm very pleased with how they turned out. and I want to take some credit for that. My wife, of course, my wife did most of the teaching, and she's really fantastic with that. So yeah, I'm pleased with where things came out.
Well, and I think one of the things that we've talked about as far as homeschooling and dad's involvement is that because we homeschool, they're home more to see the family dynamics, see decisions being made and that kind of stuff. So just even being able to spend a little bit more time with a dad than they would if they were gone 8 hours a day and the dad's gone 8 hours a day,
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. Cause the kids are at home. So if the dad's at home, you're going to see
Right.
them. They're not at school or, have to get them out the door at 7:00 in the morning, catch the school bus or be at school or anything like that. So you're not passing each other in the night kind of situation. Yeah.
And so can you tell us anything about the dynamics of how things go between you and your wife when you were homeschooling,
Homeschool dads should realize that their main goal in most cases is supporting their wife in everything that she's doing as far as the actual teaching of the classes go. Homeschooling's a lifestyle. It's not something that you just decide to do. It's something that you sit down together and make that decision. And dads need to be on board with that. Um, Honestly, my wife said, I think we should do this. And I'm like, okay, let's try it and see how it goes. I should have been more responsible, said, yeah, we're going to do this 100%. And I should have been in at 100% to start with. But it was pretty obvious early on that this was going to work really well for us. And so, I would do whatever I could when possible. You just do what you can and what you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as a homeschool dad, what piece of advice do you have to give?
Protect your relationship with your wife, because if that doesn't go well, your homeschool is not going to be successful.
And that's life of how many ever children you have in your
Exactly.
home. Yeah.
And you're an example, whether you realize it or not. And we had a meeting with dads last night, and this was one of the things that came out is whether you realize it or not, you're an example in your teaching, and whether it's a good or a bad, it may come out later in life. That was some of the really neat things. Is a couple of guys said, I didn't realize this at the time, but years later, my kid came back and said, thank you for doing this. Or they showed the same thing. A situation came up and they reacted in a similar, good way that the dad recognized, oh, that happened
Yeah.
back then, and they learned from me.
Because teaching is always happening, whether we're in the classroom setting or not.
I like to say is every parent's a homeschool parent, whether they're actually homeschooling or not.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And so you kind of talked about something last night. So could you tell us what NCHE is doing towards helping dads?
We recognized, just talking with dads at the conference and stuff over the years, that we needed to do something for dads. Most of everything in homeschooling is focused on moms, which is probably as it should be, because the moms are doing the bulk of the work. But the dads are working too. They're making decisions. They're doing, what they can. And a lot of times they don't know what to do. They feel out there by themselves. We're right now we're in kind of data gathering mode to find out what can NCHE do to help dads. Like I said, last night we had a dad's gathering, and we just sat around and talked about our experiences and things that happen with our kids. We've got a survey online at nche.com that under helps and dads that dads can fill out, and we're gathering information off of that. And what we're finding is dads want to know how to support their homeschool. What can they do to better support their homeschool? So we're looking into that, trying to find out how can we serve dads better.
And so if there is a dad that just wants to reach out
Yep.
to ask any questions, how does that happen?
You can email dads@nche.com, and that'll come to me, and I will reply back, or I will pass it to one of our team members to reply back to you.
That's wonderful. And we will, of course, include all these links in the notes below. Thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Bye-bye.
I really enjoyed a number of things that Tom said really resonated with me, but I'd love to hear from you. What do you think?
Well, I think first and foremost, it was very interesting. You had just talked about that your husband wasn't 100% on board in the beginning. And Tom kind of, alluded that, he was kind of unsure. He's like, yeah, try that. And I really
Exactly.
think that that is a story that I have heard so many times. They feel like these moms just kind of know what they're talking about a lot of times. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I don't understand. But if you're willing to take that on, absolutely. And then how quickly we see some of these dads get involved and just love it. And I love that that happens. And I think that that's incredible. And I think it's great if you have these dads that are, on board and pushing for it to begin with. But it's okay for them to not fully understand. And I think that it's okay to give that grace. And so I'm really
Absolutely.
glad that he talked about that and
Yeah.
just how much then he went into talking about dads and being present and just being being around and how they're watching you. And
Yes.
that's so true. And we've talked in homeschooling just about getting to do life and them being home to see what that life looks like. And so I think he did a fantastic job about that. What about you?
I loved a lot of things, but a couple of were kind of similar. I love that he said every parent is a homeschooling parent. And I love that because that's something I say all the time. Whether you know it or not, you are homeschooling because your kids are watching you. You are teaching them verbally or non-verbally, intentionally or non-intentionally all the time. And I think that's such a powerful thing for moms and dads, but particularly for dads to take away that their role is so important, so
Yes.
essential. And the idea of protecting that marriage relationship and how that's
Yes.
important. I know it's easy in homeschooling to kind of let that be the be all end all. And it can be all consuming, especially when you're getting started. And that reminder to really make sure you do keep that marriage relationship as a priority, I
Yes.
thought was
Yes.
really, really important.
We think so much alike because literally the next two things I wrote down were the two things you've just said. And I
Yes.
have seen within my near family that how important that marriage thing needs to be and that we do have to keep that first and foremost. One, for the reason that we are teaching our children that, and they are going to grow up and leave us and have these relationships. And if they don't see how they should work and that that is the most important relationship outside of our relationship with God, then they're not going to know to mirror that. And
Right.
then as for the parents themselves, because if the kids consume all of your life and you don't put into your marriage, when those kids leave, where is your marriage? And so seeing from the outside some close family going through that and they're
Yeah.
struggling. My husband and I talk about it weekly that we
Yeah.
really need to put ourselves first and make sure that we're showing a healthy relationship to our children. So
Absolutely.
definitely.
So important. And I think both Matthew and Tom, I think all of our dads actually, as we go through this series, I think you're going to hear it from every single one of them that they really all have appreciated the gift of time that
Yes.
homeschooling gave them. I think sometimes, when our oldest daughter was in school, my husband was working a lot, our family was young, and he was working many hours. And really, he got almost no time with our kids because by the time he got home, we did dinner and bath time and bedtime. That was it. He was home and they were in bed. So the gift of being able to have time with dad that's not just when they're exhausted or cranky or sleepy, or asleep it's so powerful. And I love that pretty much I think every dad that we talk to
Yes.
mentioned that. It's
Yes.
really important to think about. Don't discount that gift of time.
Absolutely. And be sure to watch next week's episode because we have Lynn Pierre Jones on and he really addresses that in such a beautiful way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a great time to make sure you guys all know that we do at NCHE have a dad's outreach. We have a dad's team that is doing a great job of there's a survey out collecting data to see what do you dads need? How can we at NCHE support and empower you? How can we equip you? So make sure you check out. There is a dad's page on our website. We will link that in the show notes, and you can check out everything there, check out the survey, all of that. And if you need support, you have questions, whatever, you can reach out to dads, DADS, at nche.com. So that's just one little way that we want to help.
So every couple of weeks now in the new season, we are going to discuss some art or little project that you can do to help you easily be able to add this into your homeschool day. And so I recently, and this was not something I created on my own, I saw, a TikTok or a reel or something on social media, and there was a teacher that creates these small little pieces of paper. This is basically your play button on whatever, all our devices nowadays. And at the top, it says, this is not a play button. This is a what? And so I hand these out to the kids and I get all kinds of stuff back. And so I brought one example up for what the play button was. And so you see it right there. This was my nephew made this drawing, and they can just create wonderful things. So you can just find these everyday things in your life and make a little sheet. You can see that I just did it with a Sharpie. Here is one that says, this is not a boot. This is my favorite one that they've done so far. This is not a boot. So this was my now 14-year-old nephew made this. And is that just not gorgeous?
Wow.
So it really, I was shocked at how well it opened up their minds. And so you can use those, and I will show you a few more of those through the year. I'll mix those in with some other things, but that's just something really quick and easy. It spent, 30 seconds of my time to start. And now they've got these beautiful pieces of art, and they each have a little notebook. So I put all their art in the notebook, and they can see as the year goes how they progress.
That is so fun. I love that because I say there is not an artistic bone in my body. I cannot draw, I cannot paint, none of that. But that seems really doable even for somebody like me. Like I could have given that to my kids. I could, and they could go with it. That's awesome.
I love to do art, but I am not that creative. So, when I see things, I like to go with it, but that is so easy. And they actually beg me for it. Every day when we start school, they were like, do we get to do that today? So they really look forward to it.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to buy a fancy curriculum. That is just perfect. Love it. All right. How about news? What do we have for news today?
Okay, so we are starting the new school year, and thus there are going to be new field trips hitting our website very soon. And so you can keep an eye out for that. We will post the link below in the show notes. But the very first thing you can look at is actually not a field trip. It is part of our chess network, and they are going to have a free online chess day on September the 11th. September the 11th for the chess network. And then the Grandfather Mountain, and that will be on September 29th. I think that's exciting. That's a good one. That's one of my favorite memories from when I was a kid. And so then lastly, we will mention, if you are a member, you should be getting emails that you can sign up early. You can pre-register for the Nutcracker field trip. And that is always one that is very popular. It sells out every year. And so again, if you are a member of NCHE, you will be getting that early registration.
Yes. And I think last year, it either sold out or almost sold out before it even was open to the public.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Definitely keep your eye out for that. And if you're not a member, why not join? And then you can get access to those field trips early, which is fantastic. There's many other benefits to membership. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point coming up, but you can always go to nche.com. There is a join button. It'll tell you all about the benefits of membership and how to go through that process. But as always, we want you to like, subscribe, share with your friends. If this has been a blessing to you, if you've enjoyed anything about this episode, please share it with others. If you have somebody in your mind that you think, they would really benefit from this. Is there a dad in your life that really could benefit? Please share with them. It would help us so much. And as always, you can always reach out to us if you have a question, a comment, an idea, feedback. Please reach out to us at the Homeschool Show at nche.com. We can't wait to hear from you. So thank you for joining us on this first episode of season 5. As you can tell, we are stoked for this new season. We are so excited. We can't wait to just continue to encourage you, to share things with you, and help you homeschool with confidence and joy. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.